All right, everybody, welcome back. Sam's Army, Matchweek 15/16. We got a lot to talk about. We're going to start with Premier League, where we'll talk about Spurs crumbling, Chelsea shining, and United and Forest are who we thought they are. Halftime will be featuring a weekly What If, World Cup 26 penalty takers, Round the World, Hit It and Quit It MLS Cup Minute, and Champions League preview, and then stoppage time with Ivan Toney's best bets, where the overtrain is down historically bad at the moment. Not going to lie. We'll finish up with everyone's favorite segment, GOAWs. Now, time to welcome in this week's panel of beauties, but instead of our traditional intro question, Mikey had the brilliant idea to show me, for the first time live right now on air, the Spotify Wrapped for all four of our, highly distinguished co-hosts, Tyler, Tommy, Mitch, and Mikey. Now, we only got Tyler and Mitch here this week, so that means that Tommy and Mikey are at, higher risk of having some shit talk thrown their way. But really, it's probably going to be, most of the shit talk is going to be at me, because we are going to go through these lists of Spotify Wraps, and I got to tell you something. I am not a music person. I think you guys already know that. I don't even have a Spotify Wrapped. I listen to books on audio books on Audible. So I'm going to go through the list here, and you guys can laugh at me as I try to pick out who's Spotify Wrapped each one of these are. So we will start with the first one here. Top artists: Kendrick Lamar, Young Thug, Nia Archives, Lil Wayne, and Kanye West. All right, so this is obviously rather rap heavy. I really don't know who this is. I'm going to say it's Mitch.
That was a guess?
That was a guess.
You really don't pay attention to who we are as people, do you?
I know who you are from a soccer perspective.
No, but every time you ask us if we're available for the pod, Mitch says I can hoop. If somebody says that every single time, do you not think that that's who Spotify Rap that is? I feel like that's pretty obvious.
So I nailed it, basically, is what you're saying. I am taking it. I'm
no,
pretty
right.
on par there.
Did I say something offensive? I feel like that's pretty on par with the artists that are in that list.
Now, if you know all the artists, maybe that makes a lot of sense. If you're me, you're just shooting from the hip.
You know who at least 3 or 4 of those are.
Yeah. Come on.
All right, listen. So it sounds like I'm 1 for 1. So I'm pretty proud of myself right now.
You are. I'll give you that. We'll give you the correct answer. Yep.
I think it does get actually exponentially harder at this point. So the next top artists, top 5: Fred again, Zach Bryan, Dominic Fike, Taylor Swift, and Maggie Rogers. Okay. I mean, I know who Taylor Swift is, and I know who Zach Bryan is. Unfortunately, I think Zach Bryan is on at least one of these. Yes, at least one of the other people's lists.
He had a big year. Yeah.
Okay, so Fred again, Zach Bryan, Dominic Fike, Maggie Rogers. I honestly have no idea who Fred again is.
I don't know who that is. To be fair, I don't know who that is either. So, no, I have no idea.
All right, well, then I'm going to go.
Oh, shit. I just ruined it. Damn it. He just narrowed one down.
You did. I'm going to go. This is Tommy. I'm going to say Tommy is number 2. Now, the third one is top artists: Maggie Rogers, Kanye West, 49th and Maine, Dial E, Omar Apollo. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know Kanye West. That's it. So I'm just going to say this is Mikey, because he seems to have the most eclectic, sort of all over the map, list. And then we got the last one: Zach Bryan, Noah Khan, Post Malone, the Lumineers, and Mountain Joy. I'm going to go with Tyler on this.
Mountain Joy.
It's like Mountain Dew. I don't know.
We can talk all the shit we want, but you're spot on.
You nailed it.
4?
Yeah. 4 for 4. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm actually incredibly proud of myself. Listen, I just totally guessed on most of these, so I can't be too proud. I guess really what has to happen here is maybe I should listen to a little more music. Just a little more.
That made my week. That made my week. We could be done with the episode. That was amazing.
I'm going to send you both. Actually, I've already sent Tyler a specifically curated playlist. Sam, I'm going to send you a playlist that'll take you into the 21st century. It's called Songs for Tyler to Listen To, and I sent it to you back in I want to say a year and a half ago.
What?
It's
Bullshit.
full of No, seriously, I'll send it to you again.
Is it on Spotify?
Yeah.
Oh, damn. I have not gotten around to it. This is basically what I'm trying to tell you.
Hey, that hurts.
Busy. You've been busy. Now you're down to one leg, so it's a good time to catch up on a little music. And I also need some curated lists. So
I can do that for you.
All right. Well, listen, now before we jump into the Premier League, a quick reminder to everyone that right now is the perfect time to sign up for Sam's Army Patreon, which is it's at $3.99 a month. So it's a perfect, thoughtful, enlightening, yet affordable Christmas gift. What?
Patreon.
Damn it, I've been trying to train myself to say Patreon.
Okay. This is my Christmas wish. I want Mitch to slice up a video of every single name or noun or thing that you have mispronounced over the past year. That's all that
have time.
That's all I want for Hanukkah. That's all I want for Hanukkah is that.
I've literally been training myself to say Patreon because I thought that's what it was.
That's not it either.
Patreon?
Yeah.
Patreon.
No, because I know that's wrong. It's Patreon, right?
Yes.
I know. I've been training myself to say it wrong. Is basically what I'm saying. I somehow got the wrong pronunciation that I thought was right.
That means you don't know how to pronounce it. Yeah, you've been training yourself to say the wrong thing.
Oh, 100%. I don't know how. God damn it! Let me get back to this promo. So $3.99 a month. Sam's Army Patreon is a perfect, thoughtful, enlightening, yet affordable Christmas gift for all your soccer-loving friends and family. So if you are already a subscriber, just go ahead and get it for those you know and love if you want to raise their soccer IQ, because Tommy's tactical blogs are already dropping. We've already got the Greg Berhalter interview. We've got more interviews coming, including this week. Our special bonus episode will be with a newly minted MLS Cup champion with the LA Galaxy. So stay tuned for that later this week. We got the Discord chat, going 24/7, live streams of certain episodes. There's just a lot going on over there, and maybe we'll have someday some watch along parties, whatever. We'll see. We're just working with this, but go over and get it. $3.99 a month. That's half as much as you pay for your Starbucks coffee every morning. At least my wife does. Okay, let's get to it. Premier League time. So a lot of interesting and unfortunate, I would say, results this past weekend. Just a couple of them off the top of my head. Spurs losing to Chelsea 3-4. That one hurt. Newcastle drawing with Liverpool 3-3. United losing to Forest 2-3. Palace and City 2-2. Those are four of the big ones. Fulham had a big week. They beat Brighton 3-1. They drew with Arsenal 1-1. So, Mitch, you go first. Which of these results stands out most to you, is most interesting, and why?
Let's talk about United Forest. Let's talk about it.
Let's get into
it. The initial lust of Ruben Amorim it feels like worn off for United fans, and I don't know where they go from here, because it's not like he has a plan to bring in new players, or so we've heard. They're still dealing with the same crop, and they're still underperforming. They still don't seem to have an identity to me. And we talked about how good Forest were to start the season, but this did not feel like a Forest side that was as dominant as they were like a month and a half ago. This was just a bad performance from United. And if I'm a United fan, I'm upset. I don't know where to go from here.
You're really that upset? Like you're like deeming them a hopeless cause at this point after
I'm just saying
4 games?
I would have hoped for at least a new manager bump that lasted more than 90 seconds.
That's okay. That I can get on board with.
That's kind of where I'm at.
But to be fair, this was the first game with quote unquote their strongest starting 11. And I don't think that Bruno Fernandes in that sort of like double 10 role in front of Kobe Mainoo and Ugarte is even like his best role. I think he needs to be by himself there. Like he's paired next to Garnacho, and then Højlund's in front of them, which means no Rashford, and they're still trying to figure out what that looks like. I'm with you. I think that it's a super frustrating loss, especially against a Forest team that like you're jockeying for a Conference League or Europa League spot for, because let's be honest, like what are they, 9 points off the mark for Champions League right now? Like they're not qualifying for Champions League. It's just not happening. But I don't know. There's still a lot of people who seem to think that like he's pushing the right buttons and asking or he's at least trying to push the right buttons, and all of these games are sort of like tryouts, which if I was a player, I'd be kind of like, why the fuck am I trying out in the middle of the season? Like, you're paying me, 200,000 pounds a week to, try out for this guy. Like, I don't even know who this fucking clown is. But I'm not to that point. I think if you get past like January, February, and you're still hovering around 12th or 13th, I'm with you. But like, this was their first game with Euro starting, and like sort of like a strong starting 11 that a lot of people expected coming into the season.
Maybe I'm a conditioned football fan for instant gratification then, but I would not be pleased with a new coach coming in and holding tryouts in Premier League games. Like, I would like some semblance of consistency over his first few games to at least show that he has a direction. I just haven't seen anything redeemable from United since he took over.
I am not quite as down. I mean, I'm down on the United project, whatever that is at this point, because it's been just a shit show. But I'm not down on Amorim at this point. I think that it's still early. He's still working this out. I think what's actually more problematic or more concerning is the Dean Ashworth news. So the fact that they just lost their sporting director, who they recruited away from Newcastle and had to pay multiple millions of pounds to get him, and he's gone 5 months in, like that suggests that Ineos, the new ownership group, is same as the old ownership group, which everybody hated, that they just don't really have their shit together. You hear all these, I've read stories about how Radcliffe and Ashworth just weren't seeing eye to eye, and obviously that was the case.
Well, what the biggest thing that Radcliffe said, right, was that when they were making the decision to fire Ten Hag, Ashworth, like any other competent sporting director, went to ownership and said, here's a list of the candidates. And I guess Radcliffe was pissed and was like, I don't want somebody who's going to tell me a list of candidates and go through an interview process in the middle of the season. I wanted him to just tell me who it was. And by all accounts, they knew that Ashworth was like a super diligent, thorough, like process kind of guy. And then he comes and sort of like does what I think to be is the logical thing, which is like, here's 4 or 5 guys that we're looking at: Thomas Frank, Nuno, Ruben Amorim, and like, fine. And then he just sort of was like, okay, I've seen enough. Like, I don't need that kind of guy. And they're not paying for holiday parties anymore. Like, and they're like cutting some of like the disabled seating that's available to Old Trafford fans, and some like they're cutting costs left and right, and especially on stuff that like I don't even really think is making a dent in the United budget at the end of the day. And so they're a mess.
Sir Alex Ferguson to get the fuck out too. Like,
they're a mess. They're a mess.
Yeah, I mean, I actually feel bad for. Well, I mean, fans obviously are in a tough spot because they have no power and no control, and just sort of this has been their life for however many years at this point. I feel bad for Amorim. He's come in here, I know he's getting paid a shit ton, but you take over, and then the sporting director who ostensibly brought you in, he's gone. You got these players.
Arsenal's looking at Ashworth, by the way, now, Mitch.
Yeah, so I've heard.
I mean, he seems like a competent sporting director based on his track record of before United. So I don't know if that doesn't sound like a bad move by Arsenal. Anyway, it does seem like United just more of the same. This is still just a shit show. And I think what I was sort of building towards is that this suggests that the rot is still just as deep as it was 6 months, 10, 12 months ago, when Radcliffe and the new ownership group came in, which
However, let's look at Chelsea, and let's also talk about Chelsea, because Chelsea, everybody called Bowley insane, spending $1 billion over the course of 3 transfer windows, and the narrative coming into this season was Chelsea are in shambles. I even said that, Maresca was going to be fired by like November 1st or something like that, and now they're 4 points off of first place in clear second. And it takes a little bit of time, particularly if you're going to have a huge overhaul. Now, United doesn't have that going on right now, so like they don't get as much of a pass. Maybe they need an overhaul next summer, whatever it might be. But I'm just going to jump ahead, Sam, and if you're going to ask me what my most interesting result was, it was Spurs and Chelsea. And I'm still going back and forth. I was on SiriusXM for 3 hours this morning talking with Danny Higginbotham about whether this was more of a Spurs collapse or a Chelsea comeback in the second half. And I kind of still find myself in the middle. I think it was a combination of the two. I mean, at the end of the day, it's two obscene challenges inside of the penalty area. Just horrendous schoolboy defending. Like the second one on Palmer, I'm just like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, he baited him so hard into doing that. And something similar happened in the Liverpool-Girona game today as we're recording this on Tuesday night. And I just saw Verge, like, unlike Sarr, just like pump the brakes and like stop and obviously not run through the backside of the guy who's facing the opposite direction of your goal in the corner of the penalty area. But yeah, that Chelsea Spurs game, like for John Champion, the play-by-play, to say there's nothing more Spursy than to concede a 2-goal lead at home, to say that on air is next fucking level. Like, as a club, you have to earn your stripes for a commentator to have the balls to be able to say that. And congratulations, Tottenham. You have earned that over the past 30 years. You have certainly earned it.
We absolutely have. We deserve that. I hold no grudges against John Champion for saying that. But that was totally fair. This game was I was so excited about 14 minutes into the game. Right, we came out flying. We had Van de Ven back. We had Romero back. We're like, okay, this is the team. We got our team back. They're playing well. We were up 2 goals. I was feeling myself a little bit out or on Twitter. I was saying some things that maybe I might have at this point. Talking a lot of stuff about Mr. Cucurella and his boots and all the stuff and his stupid looking hair. Holy shit, did that fall apart quickly. Holy shit. And you know what? It was before Chelsea even scored a goal. We're still up 2 goals, 2-0. And I was already like, oh no, here we go. Because Romero went down. And I was like, oh no, this is, and I clearly I'm not the only one. I think a lot of people, a lot of Spurs fans, maybe the Spurs players already knew it when we were still up 2-0, that this was going to happen. I was already getting tweets being like, what's going to happen here. And I'm being like, maybe not. No, absolutely. We knew exactly what was going to happen, and it did. We crumbled. We just fell apart, and that's what this game crystallized it for me. This Spurs team is like the best, like the top first 11 is a title contending team. If we can have them out there every game, but that's obviously fantasy land. That's not ever going to happen. It happened one time in my memory, which was Leicester City. They had basically their first 11 out there for the whole season. That will never happen. We're Tottenham, of course. Anytime we lose one of our just like key guys, this team falls apart, let alone multiple. We're already down Vicario, who you can say a lot about him, and he makes some mistakes, covering the box. But with the ball at his feet, he's perfect. He's the perfect guy for this system. So we're down him. Then you lose Romero. And then Van de Ven goes down at the end, which is just, that's just, the cherry on top here. But basically, this team is a house of cards. It's a dangerous house of cards. You don't want to touch this house of cards, but whoever does, one card goes down, the whole thing goes down, and our team collapses. And is
there a non-dangerous version of a house of cards? I feel like that's the reason for the saying. I feel like
house of cards. No, we're dangerous to other people. You don't want to touch this house. You don't want to come near this house of cards. It's dangerous. Okay,
you're a contagious house of cards. Now let me ask you this: Is Ange on the hot seat?
He shouldn't be.
Why? Why not?
I just think he's a good coach, and I think that every time we get like our top players out there, you see what he can do with this team. So yeah, if you're going to be Daniel Levy, and he
is Daniel Levy, and keep in mind that the last time that the fans started to turn on the team and really started to become vocal, Nuno was out.
Yeah.
So,
but first of all,
that's why you said
it's a whole different thing. Okay, when Andrew's playing well, when Nuno was playing well, it was still like, oh, for fuck's sake! We won the game. Well, great. That's good.
It's not a really results-based business. The picture on the field, the products on the field could look great, but if you're not getting the results that you think you should be getting with the 11 that you put out there, what does it matter what the product on the field looks like, whether it's pretty or ugly?
Well, because when we have the team we want, we get the results we want. Not only are we entertaining, but we
that can't be your excuse. It just can't. And I think you answered my question the way that you did, which is he shouldn't be, because I think he is.
I mean, I know that a lot of Spurs fans think he is, and I don't know about Daniel Levy. I don't know what he thinks at this point. He's been known to pull the trigger kind of quick in the last few coaching cycles. My hope is that he sticks with him. I think Ange deserves this season. We'll see what happens. Like, this is a team. Listen, I've been through this before. All right, if we finish 8th, no sweat off my back. I've been there. I've done that. Okay. But I think that he's a coach that actually can do things and put us in the title contention if he's backed with players. So if Daniel Levy backs him, I think that he can be.
Did he not spend money?
I think he did, but like, we brought in guys that weren't going to start right away, right? We brought in some guys that they're going to take 12 to 18 months to work into the system. That is who we brought. Solanke is separate. Like, we needed somebody to replace Kane. We brought that in.
The $60 million striker is separate.
Wouldn't have been my first choice. Wouldn't have been my first choice. But he seems like he's doing okay. The problem is that all these injuries have piled up, and we're not the team that Ange wants to put out there, obviously. And I think we just got to sort of put people like Dragusin out there, drag our asses through the next 4 to 6 weeks, which is going to be brutal coming over the holiday festive period. Let's see where we are, and if Levy, listen, Levy needs to spend some freaking money on this team. Okay. We got the revenues coming in. We have the biggest stadium. We got Jerry Jones looking to inject some money. We have money. Okay. Put it to good use, get some more players, build this squad up. We have just zero bench. We have zero bench. That's what it is. And so yeah, there's excuses and there's reasons. I got plenty of both. But either way, I think Big Ange should not be on the hot seat. I think we should stick with him this season. That's my answer.
Okay.
And if we get 8th, we get fucking 8th. Been there. If we get 9th, I think I've been there too. What are we in now? 12th? Well, I don't know if I've been that bad. That's really bad. Now quickly, Chelsea. I just want to give them a shout out, man. They're freaking good. This team is a title contender. I do think. We were giving Bailey and Chelsea so much stick, and rightly so. But man, I don't know I guess Maresca deserves all the credit, or at least a lot of the credit here. They're good. And Cole Palmer, by the way, Cole Palmer, my God, that guy is insane.
Yeah, Cole Palmer aside, I think the millions and millions of pounds they've spent on players is starting to come to fruition. So maybe
they got tons of talent. They got talent, backing talent up. That's something Spurs can't
$1 billion they spent. I would hope they do. Yeah. And I think they hit on a couple of those. I don't think they hit on all of them, but for spending
you're bound to hit on one of them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Blind squirrel finds a nut every now and then. I'll give credit to Maresca where it's due as well. I think he puts out the right 11 every game, and I think he plays a really attacking and enticing style of football. But no, you're right. This is a title contending team, and they could not have gotten much lower last season, and it's impressive to see how they've bounced back. Also, the Premier League's more fun when Chelsea's good. It just is.
I kind of like it when they're bad, but I hear you on that. The quickly on the cards or the non-cards, there was the challenge that Caicedo made that in a still frame. I just want to touch on this really quickly. On the still frame footage, it looks a lot like the Romero tackle from last year. I was actually okay. It should have been a yellow card. First of all, Caicedo should have got a yellow card, not nothing. But I was okay with that not being a red. It was high, but Kulusevski should have gotten a red card for that elbow too. So that certainly didn't change the game.
Gary Neville kind of described it well in the studio. He basically was saying, since he was kicking up and made a kicking motion as opposed to stomping like we've seen a lot, that might have saved him from getting a red. But
I think it did.
I'm with you too.
I was surprised they didn't give a red though. I was very surprised, just the way that sort of VAR is going. It felt like something that they would give a red to. But I was okay with sort of I didn't think the reffing changed this game. Chelsea deserved to win the game. We got the penalty at the end that sort of made it look put a little lipstick on the pig, but we fell apart. We crumbled in this next few weeks. It's going to be tough.
I love that Spursy has become an adjective as well. Because it was very Spursy of you to get that third at the end and maybe give a glimpse of hope and then crush it all.
We knew what was happening there. just quickly, by the way, Forest, we should give a little bit of credit to them, right? I mean, the fact that they went into Old Trafford and won that game, like, let's give some golf claps.
Yep.
We gave Chelsea their credit. I give golf claps to Forest as well. Okay, any other games? We had Palace 2-2 with City. We had Fulham's big week with a win over Brighton and a draw versus Arsenal. In fact, I thought that Arsenal game was really interesting, the way that Fulham is a very good team, by the way, but Fulham basically keyed in on Odegaard and Saka, but Odegaard especially, and just it felt like, I don't know how, if they were doing this, but it felt like they were triple teaming those guys, Odegaard specifically. And if you take him out of the game, as we've been saying, he's the guy that makes things happen.
You guys looked like non-Odegaard Arsenal.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Looked like, It looked like he just wasn't on the field.
No, they did do well pressing him, and I want to amend that. Fulham's a good team. Fulham's not a very good team. Fulham's a good team. They, I think, deserved a point out of this game, and our lack of depth and, frankly, quality at a handful of positions really showed here. Looking back over the season, I can count maybe 2 or 3 substitutions that have made an impact on the game. Other than that, I can't point to a player and say, when Sterling comes off the bench, when Ethan Nwaneri comes off the bench, when Trossard comes off the bench, well, he starts now, or when Martinelli comes off the bench, that he makes an impact on the game with his fresh legs and shows the defense something new. I can't say that, and I couldn't say that this game as well. I think we are, injuries aside, of which we have plenty, I think we are really lacking in depth and quality, and it showed in this game. I think if we have a more fit midfield, if one of the several defenders that we have injured are healthy, then maybe we take 3 points from this game. But I think that was a deserved 1-1 draw. And you're right. I think they did a really good job. I mean, is there a better defending left back in the league than Anthony Robinson? Seriously, he did an unbelievable job on Saka. Yeah. He's frantic, but God, does he work hard. He's quick as fuck, makes the right decision, defends without fouling a lot of times as well.
He's a big boy too.
He's a strong
lad. Yeah. He gets stuck.
I'd hate to come up against him. That's a nightmare. The dude is raw as fuck. Remember that game? I think it was last season against Liverpool when Salah asked him, like, "Bro, do you ever stop running?" It feels like he's up and down the field all times. So yeah, I just quality player, Anthony Robinson. Upsetting 1 point, but I'll take
it. Newcastle, Liverpool, 3-3. What were your thoughts there, Tyler?
Well, it ended 4-2.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on.
Yeah,
there was a lot going on in that, and I'm not surprised at defensively. I mean, like, that was one of our worst games, obviously, but at the end of the day, I do think that this Newcastle team is pretty good, and they, I think, might fall into the United and the Spurs category of being a moment team. That's kind of been their MO under Eddie Howe a little bit, is that they get up for really, really big games. I mean, they did Arsenal dirty a couple of times when they were trying to, find their way into Champions League a couple of years ago. And, they're currently sitting in 12th. They obviously, that means that they play down to their competition and they lose and draw some games that they shouldn't. And then they also can bang with the big boys and get some big results, which they've done this year too. And St. James's Park is one of the more difficult places to go and play in England. So, I mean, I'm fine with the point. Obviously a little frustrated. I thought that, both teams had chances to win the game, but end of the day, like, point away while you have a 8 or 9 point lead atop the Premier League table is not the end of the day.
It's interesting that you put the Spurs, Newcastle, United together as sort of the moment team. They're in this like little moment team sad sack,
like purgatory,
section of the table. They're in 11th, 12th, and 13th. Spurs, Newcastle.
That's what happens when you play down to your competition and you only show up against big teams. You're gonna be super fucking average. That's how that goes.
And along those lines, Newcastle turned around after drawing with you guys, and they lost to Brentford on the weekend. So yeah,
Brentford's a good team, man. Brentford score a lot of goals. Wissa and Mbuemo are fun to watch. Like, I like Brentford. Don't you poo-poo on Thomas Frank. That's gonna be that might be the next coach of Tottenham Hotspur. Actually,
hey. We're still big Anjin around here. God damn it. All right. That'll. Any other games though? Any other games?
Rico Lewis with a performance for the ages. I was shit-talking him in the Discord, of which you can only get access to if you subscribe to the Sam's Army Patreon. And
Patreon.
The Patreon. And I said before anything happens to him in this game, I said, what does Rico Lewis add to a side? Because he seems to be picked week in and week out, and I never see much from him. And then later that game, he scored an absolute banger and then promptly got a red card right after. So I was complaining that I don't see much from him, and then he showed me all ends of the footballing spectrum. So I appreciate you, Rico Lewis, but I still don't rate you as a player.
That red card, or I think it was the second yellow, that was ridiculous.
Yes.
That was a terrible call.
Yeah.
But yeah, Man City, yeah, they're just not good. Just not good. I don't know what else to say, really, at this point. We've talked about them way too much. All right. Quickly, West Ham pulled out kind of a nice win with all the tributes to Mikel Antonio, which sounded that accident, by the way, that the car crash. Oof. When I just saw the picture of the car, I was like, oh my God, this is going to be really bad. But it sounds like maybe it's not quite as bad. He broke a leg, but is in stable condition in the hospital. That's great. So tributes to him from all the goal scorers, and we'll leave it there. For the weekend, time to talk about FPL for the week, where your boy made some moves. 72 points this week. To be fair, I did use my bench boost and got absolutely screwed with the Merseyside Derby, which basically took a couple players, including Mo Salah, away, but still got 72 points. Not too shabby, not too disappointed with that. I actually jumped into first in the Sam's Army Council of Elders table. So I'm first, followed by Mikey Fowler, who changed his name. He's no longer Major League Soccer. I'm an Amorim man is now number 2. Tommy's third, Mitchell fourth, and then FCTT bringing up the back end. Sam's Army Podcast League, Rooney Tunes is now in first place. Brian Gerstenfeld, followed by Cole Palmer FC, Aditya's TVs, No Hair, No Mo. Christopher Frost is in third place. Nathaniel Graham, GNAT Dub FC, followed by Magnets, Patrick Kelly in fifth. Well done, everybody there. Now,
just Magnets?
Yeah, just Magnets. Just nice. Magnets.
Kind of like an Always Sunny reference, Patrick? If it is, I appreciate it.
I have no idea. There was somebody had their first name, Kyle McBurney. Fell down to 25th this week. Hopefully he can bounce back. All right, now looking forward to the weekend ahead. We got some interesting games on deck. We got Nottingham Forest hosting Aston Villa. We got City hosting United on Sunday, Manchester Daerby, and Liverpool hosting the aforementioned Mitch said good Fulham team, not very good team. Mm-hmm. Fulham. So Liverpool hosting Fulham. Tyler, what game are you looking at?
Manchester Daerby. Has to be. Absolutely has to be. Big moment for the Moment Club, and a big game for the club that's battling for a Champions League spot in Manchester City. So, should be an interesting one. And the Etihad should be, I don't want to use the word rocking. They'll be more interested than usual, is what I'll say about the Etihad. And yeah, good game between a couple of managers who are just scrapping for their jobs right now, Ruben Amorim and Pep Guardiola. By the way, the level of rattled, not only for Pep Guardiola when you see some of the videos coming out now, but also for all the Manchester City fans who were so unbelievably insulted by the video that we released last week, talking about like how this season, what it would do to Pep's, potential legacy and whether it's a black mark or not. And like everybody throwing up the 6 emojis and, oh my God, we have so many injuries. And I am so unbelievably sick of it. You have one bad season, and people and the media is going to jump on you, obviously, because of the wealth of riches and the 115 charges that apparently might be 130 now. Mm-hmm. And you can't take a little bit of heat. You can't take it. And they're like, when is City going to get their credit? When are they going to get their credit? We've been doing nothing but talking about how dominant of a juggernaut Manchester City is and how Pep just needs to leave and let the rest of the Premier League live their lives and try to fight for a trophy. And they're like, when are you guys going to give them their credit? That's all we've been doing. All we've been doing for the past 7 years. That's it. That's it. Somebody clip this, because for all those people who I was going back and forth with one of you on, and it's not even one of you, it was somebody who was just watching a clip. I don't even think listens to the pod. And I was like, why am I arguing with this person? This person felt like it must be a middle child, because they must feel neglected and like they didn't get enough attention, whining about how City hasn't gotten their flowers over the past 7 years. Oh my God.
I gotta be honest, I'm not sick of it at all. I'm enjoying this because, listen, Manchester City fans have lived the most coddled lives over the past however many years at this point. You have faced zero adversity. Adversity for a Manchester City fan is losing the Champions League final. That's adversity for a Manchester City fan. Like you've won 6 of the last 7 titles. Yes, like we are talking a lot of shit, relatively speaking, about Manchester City right now. It's because we've got this pent up, essentially enviousness, jealousy, that we want some of those wins. We want some of those memories. You guys are bogarting them all. You're taking all of our memories. And there's a sort of a little layer here of anger based on, were these memories, won through sort of nefarious means? We don't know. We don't know, except we know it's just whether they actually prove it in the court of law. Anyway, I'm not sick of this at all. If you have listen, Manchester City, unless the Premier League actually comes down on them and actually does something about this, which I think we all doubt is going to happen, unless they do, Manchester City is just going to retool in the summer. They're just going to spend as much money as they want.
They might retool in a month. Exactly. They might retool in January. And by the way,
they should jokes in now.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
We'll have maybe we do a whole bonus episode on exactly what comes of the City situation of 115 now up to 130 charges. I heard there will be a decision coming in the spring, which I feel like is a little cowardly from the Premier League, because that means you can essentially wait till after the season's done to hand down punishment, as opposed to giving point deductions in the middle of the season, which they did last year to.
What if you just give it at the end of the season though? It doesn't matter.
I think they've set the precedent that they're willing to do it in the middle of the season. So I don't know why they wouldn't right now. But for something this large, I'm assuming it's going to be a substantial punishment. Yeah, I can see it coming at the end of the season. But will it be a relegation? Like, let's be honest. Will the Premier League tell Manchester City they have to go play in the Championship?
Make an example out of them. I mean, it'll never happen. But like, if yeah.
It never will, but I agree. It just seems like I
actually think it's a pretty harmless. Sorry, not to take up some time here, but I think it's a pretty harmless punishment. If you were to say, "Hey,
it's 1 year.
It's 1 year, right? They're guaranteed to win it, or at least get promoted. No, they're guaranteed to win it, come back up, and they will serve whatever like transfer ban that will have been put down upon them in that time. It'll be a fun little blip in the club's history, and you guys can go back to, I don't know, buying all your championships again.
And that'll be Pep's last act. We'll be bringing Manchester City back into the Premier League.
A heroic promotion. Yeah. He should stay if that's the case.
I love that. That's a nice little storyline. I mean, listen, it's happened before. Juve did it, right? They went back to like the 3rd division, and some of their players actually stuck with them. That was nice. Anyway, other games this weekend: Liverpool hosting Fulham. That should be interesting. And
usually low scoring that game with Fulham. They usually give us a tough game.
I think I said this before. I used to just love watching Liverpool when Klopp's Liverpool. I'm not. It's not the same with our. You guys are good. You guys are really good. Let me.
This goes back to your Nuno. This goes back to your Nuno versus Ange conversation.
It's not fun.
You'd rather lose and have fun than win and be boring.
I want wins. I don't need wins. I need entertainment. Okay, I need entertainment.
You're a sick puppy. You're a sick puppy. Don't ever complain to me about Spurs losing ever again. You're not allowed.
Tottenham have trained me this way. Okay, they've brought me up to expect, or at least sort of need. I need the sustenance of entertainment because we can't always get the wins. We already know that. We're not Manchester City. We're not spending like them. We don't have Klopp, or I was trying to think of who else I could throw in there.
Yeah.
Sloot.
Sloot. Sloot. All right, last one. Forest Villa. I mean, you got to throw that out. That should be an interesting game.
I hope that's on your overtrain. I feel like that's got written all over it.
Nottingham Forest is a team that I just don't feel comfortable really sort of throwing in that category.
Right, I'm all over it now.
Yeah,
I'm all over it now.
On that.
There we go.
Nothing screams over more than Chelsea Brentford this weekend, though.
Oh yes, I mean, I was looking for another game. I can't. That game. I'm just gonna give it away now. That's one of my overtrain picks of the year, probably.
Tyler Terran's money back guarantee.
Oh, is it back? Is it back?
For
Might
you.
Be.
In this scenario, it should be.
You gotta be on the Discord, and then you'll know. All right, halftime. Let's get to it. So, weekly what if? I'm gonna keep this short for everybody with the millennial attention spans. Also, because Mitch told me to. I gotta do like Karen Goulet over there. Keep it shorter. All right, here we go.
That's my mother's name.
Is it actually?
Yeah, that's awesome. Oh, perfect. All right. This one's for you, Karen. Weekly what if? Now, picture this. Put it in your mind. 2026 World Cup final. Pulisic is out. You got one penalty to win the final. Who takes it? You go, Mitchell / Karen.
Ricardo Pepi.
Mm.
I have the most confidence in him as a goal scorer. That man knows how to find the back of the net. You see the form that he's been in lately. I know we're talking 2026, but if his trajectory continues, I genuinely think he will be the consensus starting number 9 for the U.S. men's national team. You saw it today with PSV. We're filming on a Tuesday in which PSV fell 1-0 to Brest. Didn't put Pepi on until middle of the second half. No Pepi, no party. The dude knows how to find the back of the goal, and from the penalties that I've seen him take, he's a confident penalty taker. There's no stutter step bullshit. He takes his foot and he puts it through it into the back of the net. Ricardo Pepi's going to save this team and win the World Cup for the U.S.
There we go. I can't believe PSV didn't score in that game. It's a total non sequitur. Tyler, Pulisic's out. Who's taking this penalty for us?
Serginho Dest.
Woohoo!
Give me somebody who's just clean technically, has got cojones bigger than the size of Texas and Florida, and just absolutely pick your spot, bury it. I'll probably go for a Panenka, honestly, but that's okay. But I have zero qualms that this man will be, taken aback by the moment or anything close to nervy. My man will step up and bury it. I've been saying it for months now, for years. Serginho Dest is a top 3 most important player for the U.S. men's national team, and I think you've seen it as of late in terms of the balance of this group and having that second player who can beat guys on the dribble. So that has nothing to do with taking a penalty, but it just goes to show that he's an important cog to the machine that's going to help us win World Cup 2026.
Fair enough. And I'll add an honorable mention to this group as well. If either of those two guys are out, Malik Tillman, step up and take this one. Oh. All 3 PSV guys, get in there.
Yeah, seriously.
Seriously. Ballers, all of them.
Good shout. I think Dest is actually almost on the verge of coming back from his long-term injury, so that will be good to see. I'm going to throw one more out there. Mm-hmm. This has all kinds of asterisks because he's got to be healthy, which has never happened. Gio Reyna. I think that he is the kind of guy that would step up and just bury that thing as well. I think the stats back me up on that as well. But he's got to get on the field. Let's get that guy on the field. Mm-hmm. All right. Move on to actually, no, we're going to do it quickly. Compliment corner. And it's very easy. This was an easy choice. I actually knew what it was going to be before we even got on here. Manchester City. You got to say something nice about Manchester City. Tyler, I know this is going to be tough for you, but I'm going to say you go first.
You're innocent until proven guilty.
This is going to turn into the backhanded compliment corner.
Okay, fine. Okay, Manchester City. All right, stop. I'll do it. Okay, Manchester City, over the course of the past 7 or 8 years, have redefined the modern game of football.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I still don't know if that's a compliment, but it's accurate. You're accurate.
They are the belle of the ball. Everybody wants to be Pep. Everybody wants to be Manchester City. Anytime you're referencing anything beautiful about the game or anything successful about the game, and you're looking for some sort of standard and something to live up to, the first word out of everybody's mouth is Manchester City or Pep Guardiola. Always, forever. That has been everybody's sentiment for the past 10 years. And it is a compliment.
Fair enough. They took over that sort of moniker from Barcelona, the Tiki Taka and Messi and Barcelona. Okay, that's fair. Mitch, what do you got?
Does it have to be genuine?
We'll judge after.
I think they have given us the single most iconic moment in the modern Premier League history with Balotelli Aguero. I think that transcends lines of sport, and you can't help but feel something watching that clip, regardless of who you're a fan of.
Okay. Those are two good ones. I'm going to give a shout out to the long time suffering Manchester City fans. I know there's a lot of people who have jumped on the bandwagon recently, and I have no problem with that. Like, people it's tough to go out, get up at 6 a.m. on a Saturday and watch, game after game if you're losing all of them. So I totally get it if you jump on a team that's winning. But I know that there are some serious Manchester City fans, even here in the U.S., who have been with them for a long, 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 long time.
Rudy was not with them before Sheikh Mansour took over, did he? Was he?
No. Rudy jumped on the bandwagon real.
Where is Rudy? What's that guy up to? Get his ass back on the pod.
He just got a hair transplant, actually.
Did he?
Yeah, he did.
He flew on Turkish Airlines? Good for him.
He did. He was on that whole bald stool thing.
He looked like he had a pretty good head of lettuce.
I know. I don't know. I didn't know where that came from, but he definitely got a hair transplant. Shout out Rudy. We'll have to have him back on here. You guys had some good little tete-a-tetes back in the day. All right, round the world time. Hit it and quit it MLS Cup Minute time with the Minute Man himself. So hit us with it. Tell us about this, the culmination of the 2024 MLS season.
All right, so unlike my normal MLS hit and quit a minute, this is going to be a bit of a slow burn and, not nearly as sort of pump and dump, if you will, as you're used to hearing and you're used to seeing and you're used to feeling. For those of you out there, shout out, you know exactly who I'm talking about. So, listen, Southern California, LA, New York, couple of MLS originals, and everybody coming in, the only storyline that they could talk about was no Ricky Puig. My vote for MLS MVP, and for me, the most important player to any team in MLS this year, maybe outside of Christian Benteke for DC United. So with that in mind, you come into this game, LA are going to change a little bit the way they play. They end up starting Gaston Brugman in the middle of the field along with Mark Delgado and Edwin Cerrillo. Everybody knew Cerrillo was going to start. It was just a question of whether or not it was going to be Delgado and Fagundes or whether it was going to be Brugman and Fagundes. It ends up being Delgado and Brugman. Brugman played lights out. But really, for me, the story of the game was the anchor of the back three for Red Bulls, Andres Reyes, sick in the locker room 3 minutes before the team is set to walk out for the start of the game. They had already gone through warmups. They had already known who exactly was going to be starting. They had gone through their paces. And this guy who has been lights out in the MLS Cup postseason and arguably their most important player, and that's not an exaggeration. He makes them go from a pressing standpoint. He's like an inverted sweeper. So like brothers Nealis, the two Long Island kids, and who are literally brothers, Sean and Dylan Nealis, one played at Georgetown, one played at Hofstra. Shout out to all my people, tri-state area, who are the Hofstra pride in Long Island. They basically pinch in along the back line, and Reyes steps up and sort of deals with a striker and number 10 and just mucks things up in the middle of the field and lets Red Bulls be Red Bulls and sort of play the way they want to play. So he gets scratched literally minutes before the game, to the point where the broadcast crew didn't mention it until they'd come back from their first commercial break and are literally like teeing up the game and saying, oh, by the way, there's a late scratch. So this poor Swedish center back, Noah Ayla, throws on his kit, didn't have a warm-up, basically pisses away the first two goals for LA Galaxy inside of the first 15 minutes. Galaxy go up 2-0. Red Bulls get one back through one of brothers Nealis towards the end of the first half. Red Bulls certainly created a lot, and then they ended up putting Ayla out wide, and they tucked the older brother Sean Nealis in. This is all to say that it was a fairly intriguing final. It was cagey. It was weird. There were moments. There were lulls. And it's weird, but at the same time, I feel like a lot of cups are sort of put under that microscope and sort of judged in that way. But nevertheless, for me, that ended up being the story. Was no Andres Reyes for Red Bulls. They end up losing the game by a score of 2-1. LA Galaxy capture their 6th MLS Cup title. So now if you're the kit man for the Los Angeles Galaxy, you have a decision to make. Do you throw all 6 stars around the badge and sort of have it be like a rainbow? Do you have 2 rows of 3? Do you have 5 and then 1 above it? What do we do? These are uptown problems and only problems that the LA Galaxy have. So congratulations to the Los Angeles Galaxy. And by the way, all this talk about LA Galaxy fans being plastic and sort of, like falling into, I feel like they're grouped into the same category as LAFC fans just because they're in the same city. It's not true. I've commentated on games at the Galaxy this year. I've commentated on games where Club America played Colorado Rapids. The fan base for the Galaxy, the fan base in that part of LA is for real. And they get out, they're tailgating 3.5 hours before the game, sometimes even longer. There was no shortage of Modelo and Corona before those LA Galaxy games. Pacifico probably as well. Sam would be in absolute heaven. But right, no, congratulations. They're a great fan base. They really, really are. And they're an OG fan base as well. It's not like, an MLS team folded and then basically took an expansion away from them. Shout out LAFC, you know who I'm talking about. But anyway, interesting year. Ricky Pooch, unfortunately, unavailable for the next, you have to imagine 9 to 10 months, unless he's got the recovery speed of Mr. Goulet over here, which got passed down to him from the recovery speed of Karen Goulet. Shout out Karen. So, exciting stuff for the league moving forward. And we've already got some big action, like the Philadelphia Union trading away every single one of their super draft picks to the tune of like $250,000 in general allocation money. So shit's already hitting the fan. For Major League Soccer. Tom Bogert is probably, still amidst his insomnia that he picks up in the middle of the season. So great MLS season. I watched the game with a beer and some popcorn, and looking forward to the 6-week break that we all get to enjoy here before we start ramping it back up for next year, because that's how we do it in MLS. 11 months of just nonstop bullshit.
Right back at it. And then we've already had the coaching carousel is well and truly in motion, and Leagues Cup is there's all sorts of news there, but we're probably going to get into that at some point in maybe a special bonus episode. So we're going to move on at this point. Well done on the MLS Hit It and Quit It minute all season, by the way. This is the culmination of
Thank you, sir.
Golf claps. Everybody should appreciate Tyler for that. But we'll move on to the Champions League. So we are now taping on Tuesday, so we only have one more game day here of the match day. So Wednesday games, Champions League. What's the one game you're most intrigued by, and why, Tyler Terrence?
So looking at this, something. What's been really bothering me is I sometimes type in, UCL or Champions League schedule and stuff like that, and the women's one pops up. The women's one pops up first
on Google.
Yeah, and it bothers me not because I'm upset that the women's is getting recognition and people are also typing that into Google, but I need it for work and I need to pull it up quickly, and it's just not. We're usually not talking about Women's Champions League. So anyway, I digress. I don't know if we're going to edit that or not. I don't really care. So Arsenal, Monaco, but I mean it's got to be Juve and Man City here, right? I mean, can Man City get a result in some competition? I don't know. Maybe. Who knows? But love to see our boys Weston and Tim potentially show out against Manchester City. Great time to pick off a sleeping giant that sort of is comatose right now. But yeah, it's got to be the one for me.
And those two are teams that are basically right on the cusp of the 24 team cutoff from the 36 to make the next round. So Manchester City's in 20th, and Juventus is in 22nd. So good call on that. Mitch, what game are you looking at?
Like Tyler said, Arsenal, Monaco, because of my fandom, but I like Dortmund, Barca as well. Two teams that are coming off of a tie in their respective leagues over the weekend, but they are 6 and 7, I want to say, in the Champions League table right now. Yep, 6 and 7. They're both looking like they will get in, but it's two teams that have a lot to prove this year, and two teams that'll be individually contending for their titles domestically. I think both of these teams have the capacity to make deep Champions League runs. Barcelona, I think, could win the Champions League. So yeah, looking forward to that.
Yeah, that's a good shout. The only other one I would throw in there is Benfica and Bologna. Bologna's playing
well as well.
Yeah, they've been playing a good season, but they're not doing so well in Champions League at the moment. I think I don't know off the top of my head where they are in the table, and I just lost.
They are 33rd.
Yes, 30-30. Yikes.
They have not won a game. They have 1 point.
Right. So that is, well, we might touch on that in just a moment, actually.
You know who also doesn't have a point in
Leipzig.
Champions League? Is RB motherfucking Leipzig.
What the fuck is happening?
Insane. Every single one of their losses, except for Celtic, have been by a goal. And most of them have been in insanely dramatic fashion as well, like Ross Barkley today.
Ross Barkley, Champions League winner.
Oh, God, in your dreams. But, Leipzig is coming off of a fantastic year last season, and
they're playing well in the Bundesliga too.
And they're playing super well in third place in the Bundesliga. Like, this is not this team is very, very talented, but to not even have picked up a draw is like just mind-boggling right now. Manchester City and Leipzig should play for the right to potentially never play in Champions League again. battle to the death.
All right, let's move on to stoppage time. All right, mea culpa time. Sorry, boys and girls. This just was not our week. Overtrain had a real tough go. 0-5. I think I've done that maybe one time previous to this. Just a real tough one. We are down bad, but you know what that means? Just a small little setback for a major comeback this week. I feel very good about our picks here. All right, Overtrain 5-a-side, Wednesday through Sunday. We're going to get one a day going over. Wednesday, we're going to the Champions League, Dortmund and Barcelona. I had that written down. I actually teased that I was going to give Bologna Benfica. So you know what? I'm switching it. Bologna Benfica is my official choice. Bologna just they have to win this game, so they're going to go balls to the wall. Benfica is a good team. They're going to have trouble. Bologna's going to have trouble. Okay, anyway. Thursday, we are going to Europa, Rangers and Tottenham. Need I even say more about what this Tottenham's defense is all about at the moment? Friday, we're going to the Swiss Challenger League. That's a second division in Switzerland. Xamax and Aura. Two very difficult teams to pronounce. 2 X's in Xamax, by the way. Love that. Saturday, we're going to the Bundesliga 2, one of my favorite all-time leagues to bet overs in. Schalke is hosting Dusseldorf. And then we'll finish it up with Premier League on Sunday, Chelsea-Brentford. I mean, that game could have double digits for both teams at the end of that one. All right, 5-a-side, we'll get back on the train tracks. I feel it. Now, Mitchell, what do you got for us this week?
All right, 3 picks. You're going to put them all together. Forest money line. I'm sorry. This is both teams to score, Forest Villa. Real Madrid to score 2 goals against Rayo Vallecano, excuse me. And PSV -1.5. PSV, like I said, are coming off of a disappointing 1-0 loss to Brest. I think they're going to start Pepe in the league this weekend and get back to their old goal-scoring ways. Put them all together, you're at +390.
I like it. Okay, Tyler Terrence, what are you hitting us with on Ivan Toney's best bets this week?
All right, couple of favorites and a Manchester City Derby draw. So a tie between City and United. Brighton moneyline over Palace. Wolves over Ipswich. Newcastle over Leicester. And Arsenal over Everton. Okay, which will bring you to a grand total of 2,619. So if you throw $5 on that puppy, that's 135, and that's going to be able to allow you to spend all of your money on parlays on the NFL on Sunday. So you're welcome.
That is a true Tyler Terrence special right there. Plus 2,000 plus. All right. We will finish up here with everybody's favorite segment, GOAWs. I got a couple good ones waiting in the wings, but I will go to you guys first. Mitchell, what do you got?
Both LA Galaxy players for predictable reasons. One, Ricky Puig and Landon Donovan, kind of one and the same GOA, just for like the love and appreciation shown to one another, both pre and post game. I think LA Galaxy has one of the deepest heritage of MLS. Yeah, I'm making up words. And I think like it's a really, like Tyler mentioned earlier, it's a really great organization, both from fans to the top. Ricky Puig loves playing there, very obviously, and I think he's on the trajectory to becoming a club legend if he chooses to spend some more time there. And I would like to see that. I think he's a phenomenal face of MLS. And while I did not share Tyler's vote for MLS, I do agree that he is probably their most important player. So it was cool that they got the win for him. And then another LA Galaxy player, Diego Fagundes. I played against Diego Fagundes quite a bit in high school. He was the guy growing up. He was from Central Massachusetts, and everybody knew, even if you weren't playing him on the weekend, everybody knew where Diego was playing on the weekend, which team he was playing with, if he was playing up an age, where on the field he would be playing. We, from a very young age, game planned for a player, and that player was Diego Fagundes. He was that much better than the competition, and it showed. He glided on the ball. He nutmegged me more times than I can count and scored more goals on us than I can count as well. And it's just really cool to see a player like him who has stuck with the game in the United States for so long. I was a fan of his back when he was a teenager on the New England Revolution, fan of his as he went to Austin, fan of his now in LA Galaxy. Just really happy to see the success that has brought him over sticking with it. Good ball player, great guy.
Good shouts. And, I think LA Galaxy, from both you guys at this point, have gotten their due. I'll just add quickly, first of all, I agree with everything you said. Like, they got overshadowed for a couple years there with LAFC coming in and, buying up all these, the Velas of the world and winning an MLS Cup and all that stuff. But obviously the Galaxy are back, and the fan base never left. Last season, it was this season in the summer when the Galaxy came to Chicago to play the Fire. We just had like a Champions League game watch, and somehow McGee got in touch with their supporter group and told them about it. And my God, they showed up, and it was cool to see. They were rolling very, very deep, and I think they do that to a lot of games. Okay, Tyler, what's your GOA this week?
My GOA is a man by the name of Ernst Tanner, who is the sporting director for one Philadelphia Union. So Ernst is a German fellow, and he is known to be a little bit passionate, a little bit fiery. And a few years ago, Toney Miola and I, when we were doing games for the Chicago Fire on WGN, there was a gentleman in front of us, along with the Philadelphia Union tactical team, who was obviously filming the game, who just was pacing back and forth while the Fire were giving the Philadelphia Union a run for their money. Yes, the Fire were actually competitive in a game a few years ago. I believe Rafa Wicki was the coach at the time. And this gentleman just continued, and we didn't know who it was at the time, just continued to just shout obscenities at every single bad pass that was made, every single chance that was missed, every single call that didn't go their way. Fuck, like literally like a petulant child. We later then found out, Toney in the middle of the game looks it up, was curious enough, found out that it was Ernst Tanner, showed me the picture in the middle of the broadcast, and he and I literally had to push the mute button. We were laughing so hard. There's like a solid 90 seconds if you go back to that game. Anyway, long story short, this man Ernst Tanner, in the span of the past month and a half, has really lost the plot. Here are the three things that my man Ernst has done. Number one, he fired Jim Curtin, who has arguably been one of the most consistent coaches in Major League Soccer for the past decade and has gotten the most juice with the least amount of fruit, and just simply put, Philadelphia Union spend, the least amount of money in MLS, or at least close to it. And he consistently has them in the playoffs, challenging for Eastern Conference titles, the whole thing. So there's one. Number two, he accidentally spilled the beans about the fact that Leagues Cup is being reduced to fewer teams. Okay, so he basically let out a state secret. You know how Major League Soccer feels about that. So that's strike number two. Strike number three, my man literally, before he has any idea who's on the board, who's been taken or anything like that, sells away all of his college super draft picks in Major League Soccer. And not for nothing, two staples of the Philadelphia Union during their success over the past several years have come out of the college system. That's one, Alejandro Bedoya and Jack Elliott. Jack Elliott, they got with a 77th pick going back several years. And he has been a stone starter for them for the past 4 or 5 years coming out of West Virginia University. Meanwhile, Alejandro Bedoya went to Fairleigh Dickinson. Yes, Fairleigh Dickinson in New Jersey, and then eventually BC. Shout out BC and Mitchell Goulet and everybody in the New England area. So my man is losing his shit slowly but surely. And it has come to fruition over the past 6 weeks that he is the most unhinged sporting director now in Major League Soccer. That did belong to the Chicago Fire's George Heitz, but he now has gone back to Switzerland. Thank you, baby Jesus. And so that honor now belongs to Ernst Tanner.
Shout out Ernst. I love the name Ernst, by the way. So German. Yeah. I just love that. And I can actually picture him sort of walking back and forth saying, fuck, 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 I love that. Actually, you don't know what he looks like, but I'm picturing him as like a 5'6" guy. Just let me have that.
He's on the bigger side, actually. He's a little bit more intimidating than that. Yeah.
All right.
No.
My go is I'm going to give an honorable mention real quick to the Red Bulls front office. So they apparently bought 700 tickets for supporters group members and offered $300 travel vouchers for those to make their way out, or for those making their way out to LA for MLS Cup, which I thought that was a nice gesture for by them. My actual go, though, and it was a runaway winner, unanimous in the mind of me, Spanish Minnows Segunda Federación, however you want to pronounce it. So that's the general GOA here. So this is the fourth tier in Spain. 3 teams from the Segunda Federación took down La Liga teams in Copa del Rey this week. So Espanyol, Villarreal, and Girona were beaten. And so in the midst of all this ridiculousness, I got to give a very special GOA shout out. So a next level GOA to one player in particular on Logroñés. And so this is, Logroñés is one of these teams in the 4th division, Paul Arnau. So he is the son of a former Barcelona and Malaga goalkeeper, Francesc Arnau, who was actually the sporting director at Real Oviedo until he died at the age of just 46 a couple years ago. So this kid, he's 19 years old, 19-year-old defender for Logroñés. And so let me walk you through how this game went. They made it to extra time against Girona, 0-0, no goals. Then their goalkeeper, this was for Logroñés, got literally knocked out. Dude was just boinked. He had to come off. So not only did Logroñés lose their keeper, but they were out of subs. So they're down to 10 men with 25 minutes left in extra time. This 19-year-old defender Arnau had to put on the gloves and play keeper. And not just for extra time, because they made it through the 30 minutes of extra time, still tied 0-0. He then had to, basically cosplay a keeper in the shootout against a Girona team that, they're in Champions League this year. So not only did he, give up 0 goals in extra time, he made a very nice save in the shootout. Girona also put one over, and this little itty bitty team, Logroñés, they won. They beat Girona. So shout out to Paul Arnau for proving once again that elite goalkeeping is really no problem at all for real athletes. It's just sort of, it's what we do if we ever have to get called on to stoop to that level. So shout out to Paul Arnau as our next level GO this week. And that's all we got. Remember, go subscribe to Sam's Army Patreon. Did I say it right? Patreon. If you haven't yet, $3.99 a month. It's zero money. You won't even notice it. Chump change. And we got a great interview coming later this week. Thank you to Tyler. Thank you to Mitch. Mikey and Tommy will be back soon. We will see you guys next week. Bigger, better, faster, stronger. See you then.